What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got an update about Starter Deck 22. We know more about Starter Deck 22, and I, for one, am rather delighted. We've talked a bit about Starter Deck 22. For some reason, over in Japan, Bandai just don't seem to want to reveal Starter Deck 22. Over in the West, we've seen distributor listings for Starter Decks 23, 4, 5, and 6, and 7 and 8, it's a set of 6, but yet we've not seen anything on distributor websites for Starter Deck 22. Well, over in Japan, we had this teaser image you see on the screen here that was doing the rounds a little while ago. Then we saw the listing go up on Amazon, and now we've actually got ourselves a rather lovely tease in a magazine. Except, I don't think tease is really the right word for it. Because it's not so much a tease as a magazine just coming along and going like, hey, here's all the information. Shout out to nchain58 on Twitter for sharing this. And what we basically have here is a picture of Ace and Newgate. Why they've not shared the whole picture, I don't know. That's a little bit annoying. And some information about Starter Deck 22 that we can have a little bit of a look at. So it's called Ace and Newgate Starter Deck 22. Starter Deck, obviously. We have a release date of the 26th of April, which I like it because it matches what we were told on the Amazon listing. The Amazon listing was like, yo, it's coming out on the 26th of April. Now a magazine is going and confirming it. It's just nice, honestly. When we get this information and it turns out that we weren't lied to, there's just something quite cool about that. That makes me happy. We're also told that it will be retailing for 1,430 yen and that we are getting a 50-card deck with 1 leader card, 10 Don cards, and a bonus pack. 1 pack. We'll get to the bonus pack in a minute. So again, there's quite a lot of information we can glean here. The most important thing as far as I'm concerned, this is proper confirmation of a dual leader. Now, I've been telling you it's going to be a dual leader all the way along, and certainly the Amazon listing said 1 leader card, so this just matches what we saw on Amazon. But we all know that listings on retailer websites, etc., can be a little bit inaccurate. That does sometimes happen. But if it's being literally advertised in a magazine, that is all the confirmation we need. We have a double leader with Ace and Newgate. And that's kind of interesting to me because we don't get many double leaders. Like, double leaders happen, don't get me wrong, but yeah, we basically just had Sanji and Zoro in Starter Deck 12. And it's weird that we don't get more of these. It's almost like Bandai can't make up their mind as to whether we want double leaders or not. Now, when I call double leaders, we went through this back in Starter Deck 12 with Zoro and Sanji. It doesn't really matter. Like, the only thing that's interesting here is that you're going to have a double trait in the top right-hand corner, like Zoro and Sanji are Slash and Strike. But we all know that in the One Piece TCG, honestly, it's not entirely meaningless, and there's every possibility that in the future things might get more meaningful, but these are largely meaningless. Like, the most use we ever really see, like the buggy that sees a bunch of play, which happens to be invulnerable to Slash-type characters. So, that's a thing. It's a buggy from OPO3. Seen a bunch of play, but it sees play because on play you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and add a red event to your hand. It just so happens that it can't be KO'd in battle by Slash attribute characters. But that's about it. We see the odd card like this where it's kind of relevant, but the vast majority of the time, like most cards ignore it entirely. Most of the ones that do interact with it don't see a huge amount of play. So there is a little bit of relevance here, don't get me wrong, but it's largely ignored. And that's the only special thing about dual leaders. There's no other mechanic going on. I mean, you're probably going to see a dual color, but even that is not guaranteed. Because, you know, if we look at Ace and Newgate previously, we've only had 1 Newgate card, Now, we've had a few different printings of it. It was a one from OP02, but then it was also a starter deck card. You know, when we had that whole run of starter decks, it turned out that the red starter deck 15 to be specific, that was a Newgate starter deck. So we just had an alternate art, but it was an alternate art of the one from OP02. But regardless, that was a red leader. Now, Ace has actually had more leaders than Newgate. We've had a couple of these. We did have an Ace back in OP03 that was a red leader, which is pretty gosh darn cool. But then we did also have the Ace from Starter Deck 13, which was blue and yellow. So Ace has been other colours. I could absolutely see this being a red leader. That would be a thing. I could also see it being dual colour. If we want to make it dual colour, though, kind of has to be red-blue, does it not? Because obviously we started off in OP02 with all of those Whitebeard pirates, things like the big super rare Newgate, things like Jozu, and they obviously were all red. But then we got to OP08 and we had a bunch of blue Whitebeard pirates. So red-blue is really what we want here. That's the goal. Because then we can play with most... And I know like there's like a couple of green and yellow ones lying around as well, but they're not that relevant really. Mostly here we want red-blue. So that's my prediction. That's my hope. And honestly, I'm going to be pretty bummed out if it's not a dual colour red and blue. I want access to all of the really good Whitebeard pirates, of which there are many, and this is the way to do it. And we have actually had that. There was exactly one red-blue Whitebeard pirate leader that we've had so far. It was the Marco from OP08. So it's not like we've never had an option for having red-blue Whitebeard pirates. I just think that if you don't make it red and blue, essentially you're just cutting out so many of the good playable Whitebeard pirates that it's kind of a waste of time. So I can't tell you it's going to be dual colour red-blue, but I really sincerely hope so, or it's going to be a lot worse. Now, in terms of the price at 1,430 yen, that again tells us something about the deck. It tells us it's a regular starter deck, but the prices have gone up a little bit. So, whereas Starter Deck 21 was a premium starter deck with sleeves and all of that, that was a very expensive one. We see a bunch of them coming in as budget starter decks. This is very much like, the last one we actually had like this was Starter Deck 14. That was the last regular starter deck we had was 14. Since then we've had premium ones and budget ones, but in terms of ordinary everyday run-of-the-mill starter decks, Starter Deck 14 was the last one that we had. And that one released about a year ago, actually almost exactly a year before this one, at 1,320 yen. So you add in a year of inflation, and yeah, that actually makes perfect sense. So there we go. That's what we've got. As for the promo pack, now that's a little bit weird because your regular starter deck like 14 didn't have a promo pack. I'm starting to think this is just going to be a standard thing now for the non-budget starter decks. I think there's just going to be promo packs. We had it in 13. We didn't have it in 14, but then we had it in 21, and now we're getting it in this. And that's kind of a big deal, the fact that it is a regular starter deck, which is getting the pack. That's actually kind of a big deal, because before this, we could look at it and go, well, you know what? It's the special ones like 13 and 21. They get the packs. They get the promo packs. But now a regular one's getting it. I think it's here to stay. Now, remember back with Starter Deck 13, we had real parity. They were all the same here, right? So whether it was the leader, and let's have a look at the leader ace, we had the monochrome version, or a character, let's look at the character ace, it was a monochrome version, that was all the same. But with Starter Deck 21, things are a little bit different. The leader Luffy still has the, as I like to call it, monochrome. But then anything other than the leader, it was basically just a full art. They took the borders off, and they put lovely texture and all of that on, which was lovely. I love that they've gone to the effort of doing this. But make no mistake about it, it's different to what we saw from 13. Leader has the monochrome, and the rest just, it's the regular ones, but they've gone and taken the border off and made it lovely full art. Either way, the bonus pack is incredibly cool. I love that it's happening. I am a fan. So there we go. That's what I can tell you right now. A lot of what we see in the magazine here is really just cementing what we saw previously, but when it's on an advert, it's kind of official. We've got a peek at the artwork, although again, I don't know why the whole image isn't being shared. That's kind of annoying. And yeah, this seems kind of fun. But I want to hear what you guys think. I want to know everything you're thinking about this deck, all of your thoughts, your opinions, and everything else. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.